Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben, the award-winning gardening podcast as voted for by the Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and by my listeners. I hope that you have all clicked that subscribe button. If you're new to the podcast channel, please do click the subscribe button and then you get notified of all the new podcasts that get launched. And if you're not following me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok, make sure you look for Gardening with Ben and follow me on all my social medias. So sit back, relax, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's gardening podcast with Ben. Hello and welcome back to Gardening with Ben for a brand new episode. If you're new to this podcast, don't forget to click the follow button and the subscribe button on the podcast platform you're listening on, and then you'll get notified of all the new podcasts what are coming up. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, August is certainly starting out to be a fantastic month, starting out to be really warm, sunny and very dry, and there's talks of more hosepipe bans coming along the way. If you live in Kent or in Sussex, I believe it is, there are going to be water hosepipe bans there, so make sure you follow the rules and just use water sparingly. So we're going to be talking about all the jobs which need to be done in August in the allotment and the garden, and I often like to do this at the beginning of the month because then I can create a checklist of all the jobs that I need to do personally down at the allotment, and it's good to know what needs to be done when and where, because I don't know everything, so it's always good to find out these things and also share them with you. So let's have a look at what we need to do in the allotment and garden for August. So usually we talk about what needs to be done in the vegetable garden, what needs to be done in the fruit area and what needs to be done in the flower garden. So feel free to take notes or feel free to listen to this episode over and over and over again, and then you'll know what jobs need to be done. But if you make a list of them, then at least you can tick them off as you go along throughout the year. And the quicker you get them all done, the better really, and then you can sit back and relax and enjoy the garden. Well, I certainly wish I could. I did put a bench on my allotment this year and I've still not had a chance to use it yet. I don't know if anybody else is the same, but yeah, definitely. It's sometimes good to sit back and relax and just look at your plot and see what work you've done. So let's get on with today's podcast. So first off, we're going to talk about everything that needs doing in the vegetable garden. So if you've got your pen and paper ready, let's get talking about what needs to be done. It may be getting to the end of the growing season, but there's still lots of jobs which you can do in the allotment and kitchen garden in August to keep your vegetable patch looking great and maintained. So here are the jobs which need doing in the vegetable garden. Aubergine plants. These can still be fed on a weekly basis. Once the fruit starts to form on the plants, that's when you start to feed them. When the plant has around 6 fruit on each plant, pinch the tops off the plants, and this will encourage the plants to grow the aubergines and make them swell and fatten up. Courgettes. You'll be picking these on a regular basis, and if you're anything like me, you will be getting bumper crops from them. The best thing to do is pick them when they're small. This will encourage more fruit to grow on the plant, and fingers crossed you'll still keep getting lots of courgettes right through September and to the beginning of October till the frosts come. Cucumber plants. Again, keep feeding these on a weekly basis at least. This will help produce more fruit on the plants, and obviously if you're growing them in pots, all the food and nutrition will have gone, and you will need to keep that going to get the good healthy plants and produce the fantastic cucumbers. Herb plants. You can start drying out your herb plants ready to save over the winter period until the plants actually start growing again. Towards the end of September time, they will start to die off and go into winter mode and stop growing, so start stocking them up and drying them out ready for winter. Pepper plants. Again, like your cucumbers and aubergines, keep feeding these on a weekly basis. and make sure you keep them well watered, especially during this hot time at the moment that we're having, and hopefully you'll get some great peppers growing on them. Potatoes, you can now start to harvest your main crop of potatoes and second early potatoes. This, I usually know that my potatoes are ready for harvesting when the plants actually start to die off, go yellow and just die off really, and that is usually when the potatoes are ready for harvest. I don't usually pick them until they start to die off, and then you know that you've got a decent sized potato and crop underneath them. Runner beans, they'll start sending out lots and lots of runner beans at the moment. You'll be getting absolutely loads coming off them. The more you pick them, the more they will produce them. Don't pick them when they're really big. Pick them when they're still quite small and youngish. Just a decent size will do, and then you will be able to keep them producing. If you leave them to go big, the runner bean plants will think that it's the end of the season, that it's finished, it's time to stop producing them, and you won't get many more runner beans on them. But when the runner beans get to the top of the canes, what you need to do is pinch off the tops of each plant. This will encourage the plant to bush out and produce more and more runner beans for you. So that's a good way of getting plenty of runner beans off. Plus you can freeze them as well until you actually need them as well. Just keep picking them. You will be able to keep yourself going all the way through winter if you keep picking them and freezing them. Squash plants. Now, if you're wanting a decent sized squash on your plant, the best thing to do is only have around 3 squash plants on the plant. Cut any others off that grow until the squash have got established. So if you want a decent size pumpkin squash, just have around 3 on the plant at a time. Sweet corn plants, start feeding these on a weekly basis with tomato feed. This will encourage great corns on the plant. Your sweet corn will be ready to pick when the tassels on the end of the corn turn brown. This is usually around September time. You will also be able to pierce the corn and it should be a milky colour, not clear, but that's usually around September time. So keep feeding them on a weekly basis, keep giving them plenty of water. The shallow rooted plants, sweet corn, the big plants, but the roots don't go that deep, so if the top soil dries out fast, then obviously they won't get the water that they need. Tomato plants, continue pinching out the shoots growing on the plants. When the plants reach the right height, you can pinch the tops off the plants, and this will encourage the fruit to keep on growing. So yeah, keep feeding them on a weekly, if an option, twice a week if possible, and you will get some great tomatoes growing on the plants. So that is all your tips for the vegetable garden. This sounds a lot, but if you get on top of it, you can keep it doing. The main thing is to keep feeding your plants on a weekly basis now, and a lot of people say stick to one certain day that you know that you're going to feed them on, and then you'll remember to feed them on that single day. A lot of people say feed it Friday, so feed them Friday, every Friday, and then you'll remember to feed your plants. So next up, we're going to talk about what needs to be done in the fruit garden, as the fruit garden is now the time when you're going to be getting a lot of fruit from, and I'm certainly starting to get lots of fruit appearing on my allotment. It's so nice to see it all. I'm getting all my autumn raspberries, all my cooking apples are coming ready, my plums are about to be picked, my eating apples are getting bigger, my pears are getting fantastic, I'm getting blackberries, I'm getting the odd blueberry as well. It's all starting to come together really well this year. So let's have a look at what we need to do in the fruit garden in August. So first up is blackberries. Now I'm absolutely loving the blackberries at the moment, and I've got thornless blackberries this year. I've managed to plant 3 plants. They've not produced a lot of blackberries, but they've produced quite a handful off each plant, and yeah, now is the time to be picking them. And wherever you see blackberries, just keep picking them as they ripen, and get them in the freezer if you're not going to use them straight away, because they will freeze. Just give them a rinse, let them dry, and then put them on a tray and freeze them. And once they're all frozen, then you can put them into a box. Don't just put them straight into a box, or they'll freeze in one big clump, and you certainly don't want that. So yeah, now you should be freezing all your blackberries until you actually need them. They don't last long once they've been picked, possibly a couple of days, so make sure that you eat them straight away or freeze them. Black currants. Now is the time to be pruning back your black currant bushes. If they finish fruiting, prune back the stems which have fruited this year. So that's for black currants. Prune back the stems which have fruited this year. Fruit trees. In August you'll be able to start picking your fruit from your trees. These will be your plums, cherries, nectarines and apricots. And I'm certainly picking all my plums at the moment. And once I've picked them all, then I'm going to give it a nice prune back, ready for next year, because you're not meant to prune them in the winter period. You're meant to prune them around July time, but I was waiting until it had fruited, and then I'm going to give it a good tidy up and prune back ready for next year and tidy it all up, because it's starting to get a really big tree now. To say it's been in 16 years, it certainly is growing pretty fast now. Raspberries. In August you'll be starting to pick your autumn raspberries, and I'm certainly doing that myself. And again, they don't last long once you pick them, so if you're not going to eat them straight away, freeze them and save them for when you actually do want them. Any summer raspberry canes that have fruited this year, they can be pruned back for next year. And for summer raspberries, prune back the canes which have had fruit on this year. Don't prune back the ones which have not had fruit on, because they'll be the ones that have fruit on next year, and they will be the ones that produce the fruit. The ones that have had fruit on this year won't produce fruit on them canes next year, if you get me. So yeah, they can all be pruned back ready for next year and tidied up. And it's best off doing them now, because you'll more often than not know which ones have had the fruit on from where you can see where you've picked them from, really. So yeah, get them all tidied up and ready for next year. Strawberry plants. My strawberry plants are going absolutely berserk. Not with strawberries, but with runners. I'm getting so many runners coming off them, and I'm hoping that I wanted to double the amount of plants I've got this year. But looking at it, I'm going to quadruple it, and I'm going to save every single runner plant that grows off it this year. And I'm going to have so many strawberries next year. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And yeah, you might say, why do you need all them strawberry plants? I can never have enough strawberries, because throughout May, June, when they start producing the strawberries, I'm going down every single day and just picking fresh strawberries, and I just live on strawberries for the whole of that time. And it's nothing better than just tasting fresh strawberries every single day, and you never get tired of it. My mum makes flans out of them, she makes jams out of them as well, so you can always use them strawberries. So the more strawberries plants that I've got growing, the better. And the thing is, you can just stick them in borders, you can stick them in gaps, you can stick them everywhere where there's nothing growing, and they will produce strawberries. So why waste them? And please don't waste them. If you've got strawberry plants growing runners on them and you don't want them, pot them up and give them to an allotment neighbour, give them to a friend, give them to a street neighbour, give them to a family member. Don't waste them. Strawberry plants, you can pay like £2 for a plant from a garden centre or from a shop. Give them to a friend or a family member and get them growing some strawberries as well. I did that 2 years ago. I gave my plot neighbour a load of strawberry plants. He's got loads now. He gets runners off them, and he gave some to his plot neighbour last year. So my strawberry plants are getting everywhere all over the allotment, and it's good. It's fantastic. And what you can do as well is that if you've got some strawberry plants that didn't produce any fruit this year, dig them out, replace them with new plants as well. So you've got 3 plants that are worth a lot of money. So don't let them go to waste. Use them wisely and get them planted. So that has been all the tips what need to be done in the fruit garden this month. Not a lot of jobs, to be honest. Not a lot of jobs whatsoever. So yeah, next up we're going to be talking about what needs to be done in the flower garden. And the flower garden is a good area because I've really concentrated on the flowers on my allotment this year, and it looks absolutely amazing. The bees, the bugs, the butterflies. It's all amazing, and I'm so happy with how well my plot has come on this year. It's absolutely fantastic, and next year it's going to look 10 times better because I've still got some ideas of what I want to do. I sorted out a massive area at the front of my plot for all the flowers and the perennials. Next year I'm going to do down the sides borders of my plots and concentrate on all that. And I'm going to have flowers down the either side of my plot next year, and it's going to look absolutely stunning. And it's all for the wildlife. The more bees you get to your plot, the more it will pollinate your plants and the more produce you will get from them. So adding flowers to your allotment is beneficial. Without the flowers you won't get the bees, and the bees obviously produce your fruit and your produce. So please do try and plant some plants as well. So what do we need to do in August in the flower garden? So first up, bedding plants. Make sure as the flowers die off that you keep deheading them, and the more you dehead them, the more new flowers will be produced on them. I've been going around today cutting off all my calendula heads off all the plants, and I'm saving all the seeds for next year, and I'm going to be sprinkling them everywhere, and it's going to look absolutely fantastic next year in my plot. You watch it, all the flowers are going to be amazing. So keep on deheading them and you'll get new flowers getting produced regularly. Climbing roses. Now I've got a few climbing roses on my plot, so what you need to do is prune these back this month only when they've finished flowering. Don't prune them while they've got the flowers on them, because you need to keep them going. So prune them back once the flowers start to finish off on them. So mine are still flowering at the moment, and I keep deheading them on a regular basis, and they're still producing more and more buds at the moment. So I'm not going to prune them back until they stop flowering. Fuchsias. Cuttings can be taken from these this month to start new plants off for next year. Now I've got some fuchsia plants on my plot, so I'm going to go around and get some cuttings, I think, and try and get some more fuchsia plants growing, because fuchsias again are great for the bees. The bees absolutely love them. So yeah, keep taking cuttings off your fuchsias and get some more plants growing. Again, give them to friends and family members, but now is the time to be taking cuttings from your fuchsias. Herbs. Now is the time to cut back all your herbs. This will encourage your plants to provide some fresh new growth so that you can harvest some before the frost comes in the winter. So give them all a quick prune back, and then you'll get some fresh new produce coming on the herbs just before the winter comes, and yeah, it'll look fantastic. Lavender plants. When the flowers finish on the plants, they can be cut back. This keeps the plants more compact rather than a dead mess. So once they finish flowering, give them a trim up and leave them ready for next year. Lilies. When the flowers die off, you can dehead them, but make sure you use gloves when you do it, because you'll be covered in the horrible pollen what's on them, and it does stain. So be careful if you are pruning lilies. Wildflowers. Now this is what I need to do. Now is the time to scatter your wildflower seeds. This will encourage lots and lots of flowers for the bees for next year. So if you're wanting lots and lots of bees and butterflies to your plot, now is the time to be sprinkling them wildflower seeds ready for next year and making it look fantastic. Now, like I said, I've got loads of calendula seeds from all the flowers that are dying off on my plot, and I'm just going to go around and scatter them in all the wild areas on the allotment site, and hopefully add lots and lots of colour for next year, because again, the more flowers that you get growing on your plot, the more bees will come and help produce fruit. So that's my plan this year, is to go around certain areas and just scatter them all on the allotment site ready for next year, and fingers crossed it will look absolutely stunning. So that is all the jobs which need doing in the flower garden for next year. Not for next year, for August. I'm losing the plot. So yeah, that is all the jobs which need doing in the allotment and garden, in the flower garden, vegetable garden, fruit garden, ready for next year. So I hope you found that interesting. I hope you've been taking notes. If not, like I said, just listen to it again and take some notes from it all. So I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you are new to this podcast, do click that subscribe button, do click that follow button, until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcasts. Thank you for listening to today's Gardening with Ben's podcast. I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do click that subscribe button and feel free to share it as well on your Instagram stories. All you have to do if you're listening on Spotify is click the share button and you can share it straight to your Instagram story for all your followers to listen to and help build my listeners up as well and get more people listening to it. Feel free to check out all my social medias, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok. Go check it out. Check out my dancing. Gardening with Ben. And check out the link as well in the description of this podcast where you can check out my gardening t-shirt shop where I sell funny t-shirts with all different funny logos and designs on. And feel free to support me by purchasing one, and all the money obviously goes back into my allotment where I can share more gardening tips with you all. So until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcast.